Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Light of Insight. I'm your host, Nina, and today I'm feeling so excited and so grateful to have Reiko, a dear friend of mine, and also someone who I am planning a retreat with this month. Reiko is a transition and wellness coach and just an incredible human being that I've been able to work with. I'm just so happy to be having a conversation with you today. And the first question that I want to ask you is what's lighting you up right now?
Yeah, it's really nice to be back because I know the last time we did this was over a year ago. So I feel like so much has also changed for the both of us. So it's also nice because I'm like, oh, I can listen back to it and also see how we've both evolved since. But okay, what's lighting me up? So I think what's lighting me up these days is very related to the retreat, very honestly speaking. And it's about creating spaces of community care for people that need it. And we can go into this afterwards, but just from what I've been experiencing the past few months, I've realized how important it is to have. I've always known this, but I think more and more I'm realizing how powerful it is and how important it is for us to have these safe spaces that we can go to and just care for yourself, but also care for others. And I think the part that lights me up is like thinking, even with this retreat, like thinking with you or thinking with people that I work with, like, how can we create that space for people? How can we create that intentional space for people where people can just show up, relax, take care of themselves, take care of each other, and also create spaces where like natural interactions of care happen amongst individuals that may have been strangers just a few hours ago or just a few minutes ago, or that may be seeing each other for the first time after, 1 year or something. But yeah, I think those are some things that I've been thinking about a lot and what lights me up.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I just
Mm.
love this idea of community and care. And I also know that you've had some recent experience in a space that you've also felt that you felt very um, held and
Mm.
supported by with this medicinal herb course that you took in Thailand recently. And I'd love
Yeah.
to just hear and have you share more about this experience because when you shared it with me, I was like, this is so important. And I saw
Mm.
you also light up while you were expressing your experience. So can you share as well with
Yeah.
this course that
Yeah.
you took?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, for a few years now, I've been really interested in herbs, the power of herbs, and learning more about it. Like how can we integrate like herbs within our day, depending on how we're feeling, depending on what our body needs. And so this year, this April, I signed up for I think it's like 10 days of learning about herbal medicine with a Thai traditional doctor. And in Thailand, in their traditional medicine, like Thai massage goes within that umbrella of Thai traditional medicine, and so does herbal medicine. And I was staying with and learning from this woman doctor, traditional doctor, and her grandmother was also a Thai traditional medicine doctor. So she learned all her wisdom, all her knowledge growing up, being raised by her grandmother and helping her grandmother take care of patients and people in their community. So I think my intention initially was like, oh, I really want to learn about herbs from her. But I think as, I was sharing with you, like the interesting thing was that I kept sharing about the part, not about the herbs. I loved learning and I loved smelling. I loved using the herbs and that experience. But I kept focusing on the community care part. And basically, in those 10 days, what happens is there are about like 10 students that came from all over the world with different backgrounds, with different intentions that came together. And we lived, studied, and spent time together for 10 days straight. Like we're eating every meal together, and what was very beautiful about that experience was the course itself wasn't too structured. It was quite like loosely structured, but it really created space for us to just share amongst each other. I'm not always even with the teacher. It was just like the student that was sitting next to me that recently now became my friend, and sharing about our lives or what we may be currently going through or why we decided to come all the way to Chiang Mai to take this course. And everyone had their own stories. Like everyone had their own intentions and stories behind why they decided to take full 10 days to be a part of this experience. And then, if someone, let's say, shares about something really tough that they're going through, someone else in the group might offer like, oh, well, I do this for a living. Maybe this can help. Or I know someone here that can maybe help you. Or if it was like a physical body pain that someone was going through, there are professionals in that group of people that are either like massage therapists or, does this for a profession. So they'll be like, let me teach you like how to do this massage. Maybe that will help you if you do it every morning. And it was just like that kept happening here and there throughout the 10 days. And I think for me, what moved me about that was if we created those spaces in our lives where we can just kind of show up and be there with other people and just share, there's so many amazing things that happen from that. But I felt like in our day-to-day lives, in our modern day, it's really hard to create those spaces or to prioritize that. So it made me think like if we had more intentional spaces like these, there's probably so much more we can even learn from each other and care for one another. But it's really hard to do that right now in our modern day life. So I think that's one of the things that, I've been sharing with you. I've still been processing, like it's June, right? This happened like in April, and I'm still processing that experience. And also that really excites me to put together something like the retreat that we're doing or other community spaces that I'm creating with Welsi, for example. So yeah, that it's kind of something I've been brewing, I would say within me the past few
Mm.
weeks, the past few months.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I love listening to you share about this experience because of how powerful of an experience I know it was for you. And I could just hear it through how you share about it. And the
Mm,
question that came with this idea of community and community care, what is it about a community? Because you have had so much experience facilitating, creating community, and also, of course, participating and being a
mm,
part of community. Just recently with this course, what is a community
mm,
that makes it so special for a human
mm,
to be a part of? Because more recently, I've been thinking about this, especially as you noted, in our day-to-day life, it feels a little difficult to like drop down a little deeper and share, whether that's
mm,
in our work environments, family, even friend groups. I've noticed how it's sometimes like I can go months without knowing what someone might be going through, or even myself feel like, is this the space to bring this up? Like I'm actually not doing too well. And honestly, verbalizing that sometimes feels really scary for people. So with a community, what is it? What's what do you think it is? What magic is
mm.
happening in a community that you've been
Yeah,
learning?
I feel like, or I know that one of the most important things I think when it comes to community is the safe space, the safety of it. Let's say if, for example, you might be someone that is struggling to find safety in your relationships or in your workplace, and you're struggling to figure out what to do with those emotions that you may be going through. But if you have a space where you feel safe to share those, or if you feel safe to show up as you are, if you're feeling safe to share your struggles or your failures and be vulnerable, I think the beautiful thing is that like there's other people that see you for who you really are. right? They see you being vulnerable. They're seeing the real you. And I think when you have a space where you feel held and where you feel supported to show up truly as you, and you can literally see that you're being heard, you're being seen, I think there's a sense of like healing that starts to happen.
Yeah.
Of like, I can share this with people that I trust, or like I can show up in this world the way I am. And I think, of course, you can also do this type of work alone, right? You can journal, you can reflect, and that's really important. But then I think there's like so much power in other people seeing that and witnessing your journey and witnessing you for who you are and feeling welcomed and feeling accepted in that process too. And I think there's so many different types of communities, right? Like, but I think one of the most important things and something that I really was, I really benefited from and I was supported from in my personal journeys too, is that type of community where I can just show up, be myself, share what I'm going through, and not feel judged for it, but rather
Yeah.
welcome.
That is
Yeah.
it, really. Like safe, non-judgmental space where we can show up as all that we are. And it's such a real human thing to feel unsafe. And unsafe can also mean I feel like if I talk about this or show this
Mm,
part of me, I will be judged or
mm,
exiled. It's a very tribal
mm,
evolutionary fear that all of us
mm,
have. None of us want
mm,
to feel like we are being too much or too different or too,
mm,
yeah, just too much, really. I think that's just something that a lot of us struggle with and
mm,
fear. And then that fragmenting happens where it's like, okay, I need to show up like this in work
mm,
or in
mm,
friend groups, or I can only show this part of myself in my friendship or partnership.
mm, mm.
And what I'm hearing you say with the community, it's that mask
Yeah,
starts to come off.
yeah.
And because it's so intentional, and because really a main point is for you to come as you are and for people to be real, really.
Mm,
It's for the first time you're like, wow, I did not know I had this in me and these feelings in me, and having people accept me in that. And then also meeting myself and showing up for
mm,
myself in this space, that there's like a lot of love
mm,
and acceptance happening. And we need that in order to make changes in our life. So powerful, very, very powerful with the community. I also believe there's something with people just being tired of, post-pandemic, people were just so isolated
yeah.
and done with the screens.
Mm,
I mean, a lot of us are still very glued to our phone for most part of the day, or screens, computers. So there's also something with the in-person community
yeah.
that feels very refreshing and healing and uplifting. It's like something that gives you energy. It doesn't take away more energy. So I think that's something
Yeah.
important about community too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I think this will be a good transition to talk about our Asobi retreat. So let's share about this upcoming retreat that we've been pouring so much intention and our hearts into. What's the heart behind Asobi
Yeah.
for you?
For me, okay. Yeah. So maybe I can share a little bit about how this name came about.
Yes, please.
So, myself, Nina, and Christy, our other friend and coach whom we love, we did a retreat last year, April, with some amazing group of people. And I think after that, we were like, okay, like we need to do this again, we need to do this again. And we also felt it was important to keep creating that space, whether it's once a year or once every 2 years. We just wanted to, um, yeah, create that space because last year was just so beautiful. This year we've been talking what would be kind of the overarching name for it, or what is like the core of what we really want to do? Of course, this, the retreat is for, you know, we say it's for healing and growth, and you know there is that kind of theme, I guess, that we've had last year and this year. But when we really dove into it, we really felt like last year was really special, because even though we were sharing and we were talking about and we were doing some really deep work, there are so many like moments where we're just giggling and just having the best time and just having fun. And there was definitely this sense of like we would look around the room of these amazing people that got together, but at the same time, like it was like we were all kids again. And there was this sense of like this process, this like personal growth, personal journey, personal inner work. It's not easy work. It's not easy work, and it's forever ongoing. Like it doesn't stop as well. And it may come with difficult emotions to process, but it's also could be enjoyable. It also could be really fun, especially when you are supported within a safe community, within a safe container. And we really experienced and saw that last year. So hence the name Asobi, which is like to play in Japanese. But we also say like asobigokoro, like the heart to play, like the playfulness. Because okay, we're adults, but we still need to have that asobigokoro, the playfulness within us. That's so important, I think, as humans, as living beings, to feel that. And we wanted to create a space where we can do the inner work, but at the same time, we're still cherishing that playfulness, that our playful self that just wants to connect with people, that just wants to be loved, that just wants to have fun, that wants to just experience the world, and enjoy that process. So yeah, that was kind of how we came to this concept. But yeah, Nina, I'd be curious if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What I was thinking was like just recently we created this name, Asobi and asobigokoro, and Reiko came up with this beautiful name. And immediately when Reiko shared, how about Asobi for the retreat? Like it was so funny how all of our energies changed into like our energy. Like we were just like, Asobi, like it was the most like all I can just think about is all of us in Shibuya, just like
Jumping.
being our playful little girl selves.
Yeah.
And it's so like last year's retreat, absolutely. It was such an incredible experience, especially to witness in the inner child workshop that you led, where our inner childs really do want to play
Mm.
and want to be laughing and giggling and do the creative expressions. And sometimes, you know, with a lot of us, life happens where we just shut that part, the
Yeah.
fun, the creativity, the joy. It's like just as hard to feel those sorts of emotions
Mm.
and sensations of playfulness
Mm.
as it is like the big emotions like sadness
Yeah.
and anger. And I really, really um have experienced that.
Mm.
Like it's so sort of that experience of the playfulness and joy, and also the big emotions with the deeper workshops that we led. There's something so magical about experiencing that in the safety of a community with
Mm.
professional coaches that know how to lead this and know how to hold you through.
Mm.
There's something so, so beautiful. And it's almost hard to explain how profound that sort of experience is.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
there's something where all of us are kind of dancing through it and
Mm.
being, really. It's a
Mm,
lot of being.
mm,
And really, my intention for this retreat is to have people and myself and you to just be, really,
mm,
because of
mm,
the so much doing that
mm,
we do on our day to day, in our
mm,
day-to-day lives and our schedules. Like the to-do lists are insane. But in these sorts of spaces, just really
mm,
be
mm,
yourself, show up with no expectations, to just embody that sense of playfulness or freedom or whatever it is that you want to embody more. And yeah, something really, really special happens when the community is there and also showing up with, you know, that intention to love
mm.
and play, to be free,
Yeah.
all of that. So yeah, the intentions are really, really beautiful each
Mm,
time that we create these spaces because it really is coming from our heart space.
mm,
I'm interested with um why do you think this is an important time for people
mm,
to experience this sort of space? Maybe someone is feeling like, ooh, I've never really done this sort of work before. I've never gone to a retreat, or maybe I've worked with a coach before, but never a retreat setting. Like,
mm,
how would you explain to this person who's like kind of interested, but doesn't really know, is this for me?
mm. We don't live in an easy world right now. There's so much going on. And I think what has helped me with that is these spaces of community and being able to share about what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And that could feel really intimidating, especially as you said, if this person is new to, let's say, has never been to a retreat, or maybe isn't so familiar with coaching, or also maybe usually doesn't like to go to events so much, or whatever it is. I think there's just something about, if you feel like you could really use a space where you feel heard and seen with what you're going through or what you have been through. I think you focused on this idea of just showing up and being, just showing up as you. We know how powerful that is. And maybe what is helpful too to mention here is that the powerful thing about coaching is the idea is that all the answers are already within you, right? I think what we tend to do when we're going through something difficult, or, if we're feeling a bit like stuck, for example, we tend to look externally for answers. And right now we have all the resources. If we wanted to, like, we could go online, we could use AI, we could read, which is it's great that we have all these different resources that we could learn from. That's also important that we learn, right? But at the same time, then we forget to look inwards. And so with coaching, what we do is, as coaches, we guide people through that process. We ask questions from different angles. We might pick up on something like an emotion that you may be feeling, and we may ask you, like, does that resonate? But the idea is that we want to pull or take off the different filters that you may have built in your life, like unpeel the different layers to be like, well, what is it that you're really feeling right now? What is it that you really want to be doing? What is your story? What have you gone through? So I think, especially if you're new to coaching, I wanted to share that with anyone that is new to coaching, because we won't be like sharing advice, or
Right.
we're not we're not teach it's not like a seminar. We're not teaching, but we're guiding you through that process so that you can comfortably, safely kind of go within yourself to find answers that you may need in this current season in your life, whether that's a transition that you're going to go through in your career or your relationships, or um, anything really. So yeah, I feel like there are different components there, but yeah, I feel like that was something I really wanted to share.
Definitely. I'm so, so happy you shared that. Coaching
Mm,
is one of the most powerful tools I've ever experienced. I mean, be I biased because I am a coach also. experiencing coaching is one of the most powerful tools to really get me clear, connected, and ready to take
Mm,
on the next steps in my life.
mm,
And recently I had an experience in a coaching which you guided me through last maybe a couple of weeks ago, in which I had a really hard time about a year ago. And when I was sort of reflecting on why am I feeling really heavy right now, and a lot of emotions are sort of coming up for me specifically in this month, it's like my
mm.
body remembered what happened a year ago. And like you holding space and just reflecting back to me, like, let's just meet these emotions and these parts of yourself, and also reflect on how far you've come and what has changed and what lessons you have learned. All of these questions that are so, so important as coaches to ask people. You come out of the session like, holy shit, I'm so, so badass. Like, and you sort of forget that because we don't make the time for
Yeah.
ourselves to reflect. And it's hard because even as someone that would identify as a very reflective person,
Mm,
I find it quite difficult to reflect by myself sometimes because it feels scary and it feels like something that I gotta do. Or then the resistance comes and the avoidance comes. But when you are with coach community, you aren't alone in that process. And there's something so, so freeing about someone just meeting you there
mm,
and asking, we're not changing anything.
mm.
We're just reflecting. And there's something in that, ironically, that shifts and changes you,
Yeah.
which is so powerful. Coaching is incredible. I like want everyone to experience this really in their lives because I feel so, so connected to myself. And therefore, I show up as a better partner, a better friend, a better family member because of this process of reflection, which is also an act of care and love for a deep act of love for yourself
Mm,
as we treat and infuse our bodies and our minds and our souls with this, with the help of incredible coaches and community, this translates into your own parts of your life. And you show up just so much more real and aligned and ready to serve and live whatever it is you're trying to become or step into. So I'm really happy we got onto this point because it's really powerful and it is different. As you said, we're not mentors, we're not specializing in probably a lot of the work that people that do come to these retreats, we're all from different backgrounds. We all do different work, which also makes it really fun because we have different perspectives coming in and different knowledge coming in. But that's right, we're not lecturing you. We're not giving you advice. I think that's a common misconception about coaching. It's like you're not going to be hearing us tell you what to do ever.
mm. Yeah.
And some people are like, what? What? I just want to be told what to do.
Yeah.
But it's like, actually, that's the least loving thing to do, really, really. So I'm so, so happy we got here. I also want to transition and sort of, before we close, is there anything that's on your heart? Could be today that you've just been feeling into that you feel called to share. It could be a message, it can be just something intuitively that you feel called to share.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I do feel called to share is that we're not alone in this work. It's not, as I was saying, like doing inner work or deep reflection on your journey so far. And, one of the components of our retreat this year is like showing up as you and then also reflecting your life and kind of what are some of the things that you went through for you to show up as you right now. Like what are these stories that are weaved within you that's making you the person that you are? And I think, what we've experienced and also working with other people, we live in a world where it's so easy to compare, your journey with another person's journey or feel like maybe you're not talented enough, or maybe you're just not special enough to take a big leap in your life or in your career, or to create something that's really meaningful to you. You know, whether that's starting your own business, or whether that's getting a certain position in an organization that you've dreamed of working in, or taking a completely different direction in your career, in your life, moving somewhere, all of these things, like being like, oh, but yeah, that person can do it because they've always been really brave, they've been really courageous, but I'm not like that. Or there's these stories that we tell ourselves that aren't always true stories. And I think what we're trying to do in this retreat, our intention is, let's get your real story and actually take some time to reflect and sit with that, because no doubt that there are components of like your resilience, your courage, your ability to make things happen that are ingrained in your existing story within you. And we've also noticed the power of recognizing that and then practicing, like sharing that story as your own unique story, because no one else has lived that story but you. And then that shows up in kind of the external world, which is like, I don't know, when you're applying for a new job, or when you are, I don't know, sharing your offering. If you run your own business, maybe you're just sharing your offering, or maybe you're meeting someone new. Maybe you're just starting to date someone, or like meet different people, or go to events. Like that is reflected in how you show up in that space, how you carry out yourselves. And so, but all to say that that's not always easy, and we feel for you, which is why we're like so excited to create this space. But also, you're not alone. If you're going through that feeling of like, maybe, I'm just not skilled enough, or I wasn't brought up that way, or whatever it is, like, we feel you, and that, it's not easy. Demo, there's so much power in doing that work collectively, and sitting with those feelings and your stories in a society where that space is not so intentionally created, where I think often kind of forced in a situation where we've completed something, we've overcome something really difficult. Okay, what's the next challenge? Okay, let's do that. Let's work on that. Okay, ja, what's the next challenge? What's the next learning? What's the next step? And like, you forget to take that step back of like, wait, like, what did that amazing thing that I just did, or that really difficult challenge I overcame, like, how has that shifted like things for me? Like, how did that make me a stronger person? So I think, I think there's just so much power in doing this work together collectively, because we all need it.
Yeah. Yes, you just snaps for that one. That was really good. That was so
Nino.
good. That was so good. Yeah, a message. Really, it came to my mind was, I think the biggest paradox that we live in is we spend so much time really wanting that connection. Therefore, we have spaces like social media that we go to like alleviate that sense of I feel alone right now or lonely. But ironically, we feel more lonely when we are in these online spaces, and then comparison happens, or it just turns into I'm consuming a lot that isn't actually making me feel good, but we're still in it. So, what just came to mind really is because we live in this paradox, and with the height of technology and AI and all of that, the message that really came as well, and it really connects to yours, we all feel it. You aren't alone with how intense and difficult it is to be living in a human, I mean, living as a human right now. Like, it's really uncomfortable. Things are scary. You might be living in a space where you're feeling like physically unsafe, and that's happening, and that's just real. That's really real. So, message is like whatever you are going through, undoubtedly there are people that can so connect with what you are experiencing. And it's hard to take that first step sometimes and like do that for yourself, to join a community, work with coach or therapist, and go to a friend gathering. It just feels maybe intense. And I really do understand that. I tend to like close off the world when I feel like everything's kind of coming down on me. But yeah, main message is like if you can just open your heart and take that step as an action of love for yourself, because we all need human connection. Like it's a fundamental human need. I promise you, you will feel more of a sense of lightness. Even if it's a sliver of a shift, that's something. That is something. So that message really came after you were also sharing, like, you are not alone in this experience, this human experience. Like, it's intense and it's very difficult. So that's the message I wanted to share. And I'm just so happy, excited, grateful to be co-creating this space with you. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Anything else, Sadeko, that's kind of coming up for you? We will also link the information in the show notes where you can register and just kind of digest more of the information, the structure of the retreat. It's happening Sunday, June 22nd in Kugenuma-Kaigan, just 5 minutes from the station and 10 minutes from the beach. We're going to be in nature. We're going to be in a beautiful kominka, a Japanese home that was rescued by a local, right? Do you want to share a little bit about the space that we're going to be in?
Yeah, so also last year we had a restaurant called Niko Yakuzen in Kugenuma, which is like a favorite for people living in the area and one of my favorites too. They're really conscious about the ingredients that they use. Like they try to use as local as they can, the most fresh, like seasonal ingredients. Yumi-san, who runs this business, she's also like, she studied like hormones. So she's like a yakuzen expert, but also like a hormone advisor. So, depending on the season that we are in, they would create the food to match like what our bodies really need at that moment. So first of all, our lunches will be made by her and her team. And the space that we're going to be in is a house that she rescued a few years ago. It's as Nina said, kominka, which is like a beautiful old style Japanese home that was gonna get, that was gonna get closed down. Like they were gonna, make new real estate out of this space basically. But she decided that she's gonna rescue it and make that into a space for people, especially in that area, in that community, that they can use to do like some kind of class. Maybe it's like yoga, Pilates, meditation, or like secondhand clothing market, just for people in that community to continue to use this house. So we're also really lucky that we're able to use this space for the retreat. And I think, our intentions for these retreats have always been like, let's also be really intentional with where we do it, like where we put, all our money in as well, like where we get our food, what kind of businesses do we want to support. And so, yeah, I think that also really excites me as well. The food is also just amazing. Ayumi-san and her team is amazing. Yeah, we're really lucky to be able to also share that with anyone that's joining our retreat.
Yeah. Yes. And all of this information is in the Notion link. I will be putting that in the show notes. It's going to be incredible. We would love to welcome you with open arms. It really is going to be an incredible day. And if weather permits, we all want to take a sunset walk to the beach, really just to soak in the experience. And we are also adding a post-retreat group coaching session as a way to deepen the integrations, the learnings, the insights, and to reconnect with the retreat community, because that's what we really learned last year, that people that came together had beautiful friendships bloom from that day. And it's important to keep connected and keep reflecting on the lessons and the power from that day too. So we're excited to offer that as part of the retreat as well. Yay! Oh, we're so excited. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being a guest on today's episode of the Light of Insight. It is 11:11 a.m. in Tokyo. It's a beautiful day. We are both going to go outside today, enjoy the sunshine. I hope that whoever's listening, you also have a beautiful day. Take care of yourself. Do something good for your mind, body, and spirit. And we will see you on another episode in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.